Hello and welcome to the coaching session from leadershipmentor.com. In our time together today, I want to share with you 5 keys to effective feedback. And this is really such an important coaching session to understand because being effective in our feedback is critical to make sure that our expectations are clearly understood by our team members. And so let's take a look at these 5 elements. The first one is relevant. The information and the feedback that we provide needs to be relevant. It needs to be usable, timely, clear, and finally accurate. So let's take a look at each one of these individually. It's important that our feedback is relevant. So we want to make sure that it applies to the position or expectations. And our feedback should not go outside of the area of their position or expectations. I know that sounds kind of funny, but oftentimes we do tend to get into areas that are not really relevant to the position itself. And so we want to make sure that going into our coaching session, we clearly understand and know the topics that we're going to discuss and make sure they're within those guidelines, that they're part of the position or expectations. We also want to make sure that they're helpful and constructive for improvement. And everything that we do as leaders needs to be supportive and uplifting. So there are times when we're providing feedback and we're trying to change, obviously, negative behavior. But that doesn't mean that it should be negative and kind of beat the person down. We want to make sure that it's constructive, that it helps them to improve their behavior and their performance. The right situation and able to understand. We want to make sure that we position the feedback in the right way so that they are able to understand it. And we certainly want to make sure that we get clarification of that. The next area is usable. Feedback is focused on behaviors that the receiver will accept within his ability to control or change. And what I mean by this is sometimes we hold somebody accountable for something that they really don't have any ability to control. For example, maybe the software application it's not functioning properly, or it doesn't function in a way that'll allow them to do what they need to do. And so if we're providing feedback and we're telling them they need to do something, but it's not within their control to change it, then we're really not providing very good feedback. And hopefully the receiver or the team member is going to share that with you. But oftentimes they just listen, and then when they walk away, they understand, or they see that they can't really impact or do what you're asking them to do. Timely. This one's so important. We want to make sure that we provide feedback as close to the behavior observed as possible. Now, there is a caveat to that, and that is sometimes as leaders we can get pretty upset, pretty angry if it's a reoccurring issue. And so in our community we do have a kind of a rule that says we never want to coach when emotional, and coaching would also include feedback. So we want to make sure that we provide the feedback as close to the behavior as possible. And this is positive and negative feedback, by the way. So if someone's doing something really well and you want to praise them for that, by all means, the sooner you can do that, the better. And the reason we do that is because that ties the team member, and those around the team member are able to tie back that behavior to the feedback much more easily. So the last one is we want our feedback to be clear. State the reason you're meeting, state what you observed or measured, and then state specific concerns that you have. And it's so important that you check yourself before you go into a feedback session or a coaching session, that you kind of look at this as an outline and you say, okay, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to state the reason we're meeting, and then I'm going to tell you what I observed or measured, and then I'm going to state why that concerns me specifically. So I may say something like, Jim, the reason I wanted to talk to you today is I noticed that you were late again for the third time this week. And that concerns me because it's very important that you're on time, and it has a very negative impact on not only our customers, but on your other team members. So that's how I would start out a feedback session or a coaching session, with that type of an outline. We also want to stop at that point and make sure that we get the agreement by the team member. So this isn't a one-way conversation. We are going to state those things, but we do want to stop and wait and see that they understand why it's important, why it's a concern. Give them opportunity maybe to come back with clarification, maybe that you saw something incorrectly. And the last one is accurate. Take the time to double check your facts. I can't tell you how troubling it is when you sit down with a team member and you provide feedback trying to change a behavior, and then during that conversation you find out that your facts are incorrect. That is it's pretty embarrassing as a leader. So we want to make sure that you take the time to double check your facts. Never use other people's opinions, and that's it's okay to get other people's opinions, but when we're doing coaching and providing feedback, opinions don't really matter. It's the factual aspect that we want to focus on. And we never want to use words like always and never. Um, that is so absolute that it's really hard in a coaching session or in a feedback session for the team member to really accept that. So when you're saying you're always late or you're never on time, those just aren't factual statements. And so we don't want to exaggerate and use those absolute statements. So that is it for this coaching session. Again, I want to encourage you to use this model when you're coaching and you're providing feedback. Make sure it's relevant, usable, timely, clear, and accurate. I hope you found that helpful and I hope you have a phenomenal day. Go to our website at leadershipmentor.com and sign up for our free team building coaching sessions.